our third favorite, I guess, if you will, is France at plus 140. I think a lot of this is just because there's a 7'4" guy named Victor Wembanyama on the team, because France miserably flopped out of the World Cup a year ago without him. And that was just, I mean, he had a whole long sprint with Metro's 92, and he got drafted, and the Spurs immediately put the player development, load management clamps on everything. And I think he was kind of exhausted as well. But he's in. He's throwing off the backboard, through the legs, warm-up dunks before these exhibition games. Evan Fournier's got a lot to prove. Rudy Gobert off another Defensive Player of the Year. But then this team has a bunch of other guys. Like, those are the headliners. They've got a bunch of other guys with real NBA pedigree. I mean, Nick Batum had a long list of suitors in free agency this year after he was considered like potential retiree. You know, he could have gone back to Philly. He ends up going to the Clippers. He had Spurs interest. He had Warriors interest. And now he's going to be a real key critical piece on this French national team. Frank Ntilikina, former Knicks guard, Frankie Smokes. He's been putting up some strong two-way performances for France in these exhibition games. Gershon Yabusele, former Celtic, has found some type of shooting stroke that I think eluded him in his NBA career. That was probably the biggest swing piece. I mean, Bilal Coulibaly, who was Victor's teammate in Metro's 92, and I think really opened some eyes when they came stateside to square off against G League Ignite in that Scoot Henderson-Victor Wembanyama clash. Obviously became the number 8 pick in the draft, or number 8, number 7. I forget.
Yeah, I thought it was
Pacers,
8, but yeah.
Pacers 7.
Yeah, it was Jarris Walker, and
he was the 7th pick. They forced the trade up.
Right.
But he is the only real entrenched, like, crown jewel prospect of the Wizards build right now, and for good reason. You're going to see more and more strides, I think, from him flying out of the corner of your screen to do a vicious putback dunk. I don't know how much, like, with Denny Avia, a former Wizards teammate who's obviously now in Portland, when he would play for Israel in the Eurobasket stuff, like, you got to see some of him, you know, working on perimeter ball handling, pick and roll type. I don't think we're going to see that from Bilal,
right?
But I think you'll see more of like a real role in what he can do in that type of environment compared to the Wizards. Obviously, weren't playing very high stakes games a year ago, and they're not going to be this year either. So it's a real opportunity for him to compete. The French team has studs, and I will be very curious to see what Vincent Collier, the head coach there, can do with that team, who was Victor's coach in his final year before joining the Spurs as well. So there's a lot of familiarity. And Cleveland Cavaliers new head coach Kenny Atkinson, an assistant on that staff too.
No.
So there's plenty of NBA pedigree in this program, and they are the home team. Maybe that's part of the cooking.
Did you say they were third best odds to win gold?
Third best odds. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Maybe this is a little bit of a home cooking, though.
There's home cooking. First off, they did not look well. I mean, you can take it with a grain of salt, but they did not play well in exhibition.
No,
I mean, Canada sort of handedly took care of them. They had a couple other losses. Their big issue for France is their guard play. Like, those guys are just getting up there in age. Fournier, Nando De Colo is quite old. You know, he's sort of one of their lead ball handlers. They're really good at the big position. If you took Canada's guards and France's bigs and put them together, that would probably be your team favored to win gold against America even. But I just think their backcourt, older, little limited. I would pick France, like, probably if I was ranking these teams in terms of odds to win the whole thing. Yeah, they're at home, but I would have them behind Germany. I would have them behind Serbia.
Agreed.
I mean, I'd start even like wondering, even still with Greece, but yeah, I get why they're there with being in Paris, but I think they're going to be ripe for a bit of an early, let's call it early sort of knockout there when they get to the knockout rounds. That would be my prediction right now, because they're sort of in the easiest group, I think, too, overall. I don't think that'll be an issue getting out, but I think once you get to the knockout play, they're going to be taking on one of the quote-unquote worst teams from one of those other groups, and that could spell disaster for them. Maybe I'm wrong, but I wouldn't have them that high.
Well, let me ask you this. Why are you more bullish on Serbia? Let's shift to them, who are coming in at 4th here in the betting odds at plus 1,600.
I love that. I mean, this was a team, like you already said it, you went over it, like they battled Germany in the last World Cup, and that was without Jokic. I mean, you're adding the best player in the world. to an already sound team. They're extremely well coached. They did not tip their hand against Team USA in the lead up game. They were on a back-to-back. Yeah, like they were like, okay, we're not playing Bogdanovic, Milutinov, we're not playing him. Like they sack guys and like they know who they are. They're not worried against anyone.